Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on Outside with Jeff. Today I'm going to go over with how you can build tomato cages that'll last you for generations. These cages right here were constructed by my grandfather over 20 years ago. I've built tomato cages very similar to this, but over the years I've given them away to friends and family who have come to use them in their gardens. So this is an easy thing to construct, and this is going to be much sturdier than the pre-built tomato cages that you're going to find in the big box stores. Now with the price of materials on the rise lately, it would be hard for me to tell you the cost per cage, but given the lifespan of these cages, these are going to be much more cost effective than perhaps one of these cages like I'm going to show you here in a second. I'm sure you're familiar with these three-tiered cages that you can find in your box stores that they try to advertise as being for tomatoes. Well, if you've ever tried to use these for tomatoes, then you know that that is definitely a misadvertisement. We use these for peppers sometimes, but honestly, if I hadn't already owned these, I would never use them at all. But since I have them as a resource, I might as well put them to work. Now the next step up from that are these. They're a heavier quality, and you'll see that they're also dipped in some type of kind of like a latex type to protect them from rusting. They're a little bit more sturdy, but once again, a tomato plant is gonna easily outgrow this cage. So unless you're growing a small determinate variety that you're gonna maintain its size by clipping it and pruning it small, and you have to think you're gonna push this down a foot in the ground. It's not gonna get you very much height. So these are about useless for tomatoes as well. But what I'm gonna show you on how to build, it's gonna be perfect for what you need. So you start with a roll of concrete wire. They come in different lengths. I believe the common are 50, 100, 150 foot. And what I used to do is I would cut about a 6-foot piece. And I'm gonna measure this one here just to get you an idea. Right there. It goes 5 foot around, but you have to think when I built these, I had to go an extra square, which is so I cut these to 5 foot 6 inches, and then I would snip the end and you would curl it. I'll bring it close so you can see. See how on the end I'd curled that, and then I bent it around. So with the cost of materials, we have to figure a way to save a few bucks and maybe get an extra cage per roll. So what I'm suggesting is, instead of cutting these 5 foot 6 inches and then having to cut the end piece off and curl it around, cut it at an even 5 foot. You're gonna make a circle with your wire, join it, and where your two ends meet, we're gonna either use one of three things. You can get you a small roll of 14 gauge wire, similar to what you would use for hot wire on a cattle fence, and you'll just curl it along, and each square you'll secure it. You can also use plastic zip ties. However, I do recommend getting the heavy duty ones because we do want them to last for quite a while. The third thing is you can use the rabbit cage clips, that if you have them by chance, or if you want to buy them, they're pretty inexpensive. They come with the clippers. Whenever I used to have rabbits and I built rabbit cages, there's a clip and a tool, a little pair of pliers that would perfectly wrap a kind of a steel band along there and give it a good secure grip. Now, the tool that you're going to need, and there's several tools that you can use to accomplish this, but what I use are these pairs of snips. After you measure your rolled concrete wire, you'll have to cut it. Now you can use snips like these, which will make an easy job of it. I'll just cut this little end here. Get my hand in there. There we go. It's easier to cut when you're on the ground, but as you can see, that was fairly easy to cut. You can also use a pair of bolt cutters, or you could use any kind of pliers, as long as they have a longer handle to give you leverage. You wouldn't want to use like a 4-inch pair of pliers because they're not going to give you enough leverage to really get your strength in there and to make it happen. So after you've built your circle, okay, and you have it banded and clipped, what you're going to have is the top is going to be just like this, smooth. The bottom is also going to be smooth, and you're thinking to yourself, well, Jeff, how am I going to get that in the ground and support my plants? That's easy. I'm going to flip it over and show you what I've done. As you can see, I have a lot of wire pieces poking straight up. And if you look at how this is designed, what I've done is I have just come along and cut just like that. Now, if you cut like this, you're going to find it's going to leave a T. You're going to have to break off. You can also cut, or I'm sorry, if you cut vertically like this, it's going to leave a T. It's going to leave a little piece of scrap that you can't get off. It's not going to push in the soil as easy. What I like to do, and what I've done on most of these, after my grandfather had given me, I went ahead and modified them a little bit. Cut them like this, cut them horizontally, and that's going to give this wire, there's not going to be anything hindering it going into the soil, okay? These are really straightforward. They're not very difficult, but all the time I see where people are trying to look for a place to buy wire cages, and the shipping on them is just very expensive. And if you want to get a good quality cage pre-built, you're going to pay like $20 each. If you get a roll of 150 foot per se, say you get a roll of 100, we'll say 100 foot roll. Well, 5 foot divided by 100 is 20. So you're talking 20 cages. Even if that costs you $100, you're talking $5 a cage. If that was $200, and it's not going to be $200, you'd be $10 a cage. These cages are 20 years old, and they are sturdy as can be. From time to time, from being in the ground, you might have one of these break off. That's fine. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 supports. There's 11 stakes going in the ground supporting these tomato plants. A few of these have some of these that have broken off over the years, but I find as long as you have 7 or 8 of these and they're well distributed along the circle tomato cage, you're going to get plenty of support for your plants. Also, when you have these in a row, they're going to help to support each other. Sometimes they might, you know, say you have a huge determinate tomato plant. I'm 6'4" on a good day, so I would say this is about 5 foot off the ground or so. If you get a huge tomato and it starts to lean a little bit, the root structure of the tomato plant is going to keep that tomato pulled down. As your tomato grows, it's going to leaf out and branch out a little bit. It's going to really support itself. You don't have to worry about these blowing over in a windstorm unless you're maybe getting 40, 50 mile per hour winds and you're in the middle of just a field, a prairie, where there's nothing blocking you. But in our city setting here, we have plenty of trees around. Wind breaks over there provided by our neighbors' greenery. So we don't really have those issues. And even when I was in the country on our hobby farm and I was using these cages and we had our 15-acre spread in our garden, you had hundreds of yards all around where there was nothing breaking the wind. I never had any of these fall over, so I don't think you'll have problems with that either. Well, I hope this was helpful. And if you're looking for a good way to cage or trail or keep your tomatoes up, I think this is the way to go. So I'd appreciate if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel for more gardening tips and upcoming fishing videos and things. Drop a comment on this video if you appreciated the content, and please subscribe to the channel. I can make all these gardening videos, but I can't grow this channel without viewers like you subscribing. And also, hit that bell notification so that you can be alerted when I post new videos. I greatly appreciate you watching me. Thanks for coming outside with me while we do tips and trips in the garden. Thanks. Have a nice day. From Jeff.